I'm Bhavini. I'm a graphic designer, and I specialise in brand identity and marketing comms design. Through the experience that I had with this client, I'd lost a lot of confidence, and it might not necessarily have shown on the outside, but on the inside, I definitely wasn't the same. I slowly stopped sharing work. Online and in my portfolio, and I slowly stopped sharing my knowledge. Working with a coach and having that accountability and having somebody in your corner saying, you can do the thing that seems really scary.
Graphic designer, branding specialist, and long-time freelancer Bhavini Lakhani spent over 2 decades in industry and knows firsthand that creativity isn't always confident, clear, or linear. Bhavini's story lives in the contrast, growing up in a world of order and perfection, then building a creative career that's all about knowing the rules and choosing when to break them. Her work challenges the idea that professional has to mean predictable and proves that standing out often means doing the uncomfortable thing. In this conversation, we discuss losing confidence, challenging client experiences, and the true path to rebuilding self-trust after a confidence setback. We also talk about comparison, visibility, and the pressure to create work that feels safe, and why that's often the very thing holding creatives back. If this episode resonates, follow, leave a review, or you can DM me over on Instagram at Creatively Eccentric. If you would love to be a guest and share your story, register to join the guest waitlist. You'll be the first to hear when applications reopen. The link to sign up will be in the show notes.
I'm finally finding my bold voice again after having lost it for a little while through some client experiences. So I can really resonate with that, and the sort of the whole messy journey thing. I love that because who wants a life and a journey that's completely linear and everything always works out for the best all the time? You don't learn anything from that. You don't grow from that. So yeah, the messy part of that statement, I can relate to that on every part of my journey, I think.
Is there any part when you were growing up that you could relate to with the messy journey, do you think, when you were younger?
So much of it. So I grew up so much of it. Oh, I grew up in a house that was very ordered and very sort of neat and tidy. And I'm talking about, the bathroom towels are like level at both ends, that much order. And a lot of my childhood memories are about me always trying to kind of make it a little bit more messier at home and try and kind of break out of that order. One of my earliest memories, and this is slowly becoming a favorite memory to talk about, actually, because I think it's had a massive impact on my life as a creative. When I was at nursery, we got given these Peter Rabbit statues to paint, and at the end of the sort of the nursery day, mine looked like a rainbow had thrown up all over it. Like I'd thrown all the colours I could at him. And I took Peter Rabbit, that was his name. I took him home and I showed my mum, and she wasn't as excited as I was. And a few days later, he was white, and she'd painted over him.
Oh,
And for
right.
years and years and years, this rabbit was in a display cabinet in our home.
Mm.
And I could see it slowly, like the white paint was slowly chipping away, and I could see all the other colours coming out over the years. Um, and yeah, I guess that is a really good description of sort of how I managed to kind of find my way back to my version of joy and creativity after a few bad experiences. And it's becoming a really really nice memory to share, I think.
Mm. So, when did you realize creativity could be a career? Um, when you left home or started a new course?
Um, Probably not until I started like my art foundation course. So I would have been, I think, maybe 19 at that time. I finished my A levels. Um, I did art GCSE and art A level, but I still didn't know what what career path there was in this. I'd never heard of graphic design at the time. And then when I did my art foundation course, we did a module about communications and sort of graphic design and things like that. I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. And then I went on to do that at uni.
And what did you learn from being in that environment that you didn't know before?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think I learned that actually you can make a career out of almost anything you want to, as long as you enjoy doing it. And it really showed me that was something I wanted to explore more, rather than going to sort of the forced traditional career path of, I don't know, finance, medicine, law,
Mm,
that kind of thing.
yeah. I know you touched on this with regards to your structured upbringing in your environment.
Mm.
How did that growing up around that level of order influence your design approach today, do you think?
So initially, I used to think, oh, everything has to be within its, nice, neat grids, and like text has to be in a certain way, and images, it all has to line up. And I do still do that now, but I like to break the rules a little bit, so to speak. So, an image might not quite line up where it's meant to, or it might completely break the grid that's on the page I'm laying out. And I think that has come from that upbringing of everything's got its place, everything's in order. And knowing that, I guess, is a bit like knowing all the, like, the basic design rules, right? Because you've got to know them before you can then start going, what happens if I don't follow this rule, or I do the complete opposite?
I know that when we're creatives, we want to be following the line of logic, but sometimes
Absolutely.
you need to kind of experiment. That probably, especially when you're studying as well, that's the best time
Yeah.
to do it because well, unless you run your own business. But as a person of color, do you think your creativity and your background has influenced you in any way um, within your work and in your visual communication?
I don't think it has, if I'm honest. I don't think my ethnicity has. And I don't necessarily work with clients in a space where they want to shout about like an ethnic product or have an ethnic brand. So I really don't think it has. I think it's, more of the influence comes from, actually, yes, there are ways to do things, and yes, there are certain rules you've got to follow, but actually, what happens if we don't?
And the clients that you've actually worked with, have you been surprised of what kind of things that you brought out of them when you actually worked with them in regards to their brand? Is there something surprising that you never discovered, that they never discovered when you worked with them before?
Um, it's always fun to work with clients who think that because they are a B2B business, they have to be very boring, very serious, very blue and grey to look polished and professional. And, if I'm working on a brand identity for them and send them something that doesn't necessarily fit into those norms of what they would see is professional, they're always quite surprised with a pop of, I don't know, red or purple or even pink. And it's always nice to see their surprise of, oh, I can be really professional, but actually I can show a bit of my personality here as well, and a bit of my business personality. I really like seeing their faces when they realize that.
So going back to you, like taking a traditional, in this case, a corporate business, and
Mm,
then going slightly out of the walls and saying, how about going out off center and try and create something
exactly.
different? So it's
Yeah.
going back to you're trying and experimenting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what's one design a rule you like bending and completely ignoring when it comes to working with the clients?
So there's this huge thing in the design world about color psychology, isn't there? um, Certain colors mean certain things, and yes, I agree that to a certain degree they do. But a lot of the time, I think actually, if you end up following that rule, you're going to fall into a trap, or your visuals are going to end up looking like everybody else in your industry. And how are you then going to stand out? So I actually quite like digging a bit deeper and looking at the person and the business and their audience when I first start working with a client, and creating something that I think will resonate with their audience, but also something that might be a bit unexpected, so it helps them stand out. Because that's ultimately, that's the point of your brand identity, isn't it? To help people start to recognize you a bit quicker. And how do people recognize you if your brand looks the same as everybody else's because it's in a similar color space?
And was there something unexpected when you learned about a client that completely changed how you designed their brand, do you think?
I don't think so. That's a really tough question. I don't think there is. No.
Completely straightforward, you knew what to expect and they knew what to expect. There wasn't anything.
Yeah, because I guess people work with me because they've seen my style of work and they know
Right.
how I collaborate
Mm.
with clients. And I know maybe not every designer does this, but I like to have not just a quick 10-minute conversation before I agree to work with a client, but I like to have maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes, so that I actually really get to know somebody and they get to know me and they know how I work. I kind of go in depth about my processes and things like that. So they know exactly what to expect when they're working with me. And they know that I'm not going to be the kind of designer who will just do exactly as they say without pushing back a little bit and without questioning why they want things in a certain way. And then without then suggesting something that I think might work better.
You want some guidance, but at
You
the same
do.
time, you don't want to be sugar coated and say, no, we'll do what you want you to do as a creative and designer. You're there to get an expertise advice. So,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
yeah, and it's a partnership.
Exactly. And a lot of the time, if I work with clients who are quite adamant, oh no, but this is the color that, I don't know, our competitors got, so let's go with something similar. I will often say, okay, well, I'll use that as one of the options, but then I'll give you a few other options. And more often than not, they will look at what I've presented and go, yeah, you were right. Let's go with what you suggested. Let's go with your advice because you're the expert.
Exactly. And you know what you're doing. So,
Exactly. And it's nice when they listen. And I think that's why a lot of people work with me, because I won't just say, yeah, sure, I'll do exactly what you want me to do.
you've had an unpleasant experience with
Mm.
clients. What have you learned from that experience? That have you learned anything differently? What you could do better?
So I have learned to actually, or even throughout that sort of the experience that I touched on, the outcome of it was the thing that the client was unhappy with was nothing to do with anything I had done. It was just an error on their part where they didn't double check things properly. They didn't triple check things properly, even though I had asked several times. Um, I have learned that maybe I need to ask one more time if they've checked everything and are happy to sign things off. But actually, I think I've learned. I was quite intimidated by that experience because the client was somebody who is older than me, who has more work life experience than me. So I think maybe a part of me thought, well, this person is older and wiser and more experienced. So, I kind of questioned my abilities a little bit. So I've learned to have, since working through that experience, I have learned to have more faith in myself and more trust in myself. And I am a little bit more choosy who I say yes to working with as well now.
And unfortunately, you have to go through those situations to
You
learn
do.
those valuable
Yeah.
lessons. And you also need maybe, you're working on your own quite a lot. You need probably other people to, support you and
Yeah.
let help you on those kind of difficult times as well. And I think you said you mentioned maybe mentoring and coaching helped you
Yeah.
rediscover your creativity and your voice. What changed for you through that process when you got that coaching?
So this was only last year that I worked on it. I was on a 9-month mentoring program, and then at the same time, I was doing some coaching with a woman who specialises in helping women find their inner confidence again. Through the experience that I had with this client a few years ago, I'd lost a lot of confidence. And it might not necessarily have shown on the outside, but on the inside, I definitely wasn't the same. That showed up with, I slowly stopped sharing work um, online and in my portfolio, and I slowly stopped sharing my knowledge and things like that. I just kind of held back. But working with a coach and having that accountability and having somebody in your corner saying, you can do the thing that seems really scary, has helped me get started. I don't think it's a journey that you ever end, though. I think it's one of those things that's an ongoing process. And I've promised myself that this year I'm going to carry on working on my on my self confidence. And I'm going to start sharing work online, which I have been. But I still get those moments where I go back a little bit and go, oh, no, I can't do this. And at that point, I've kind of got to revisit things that my coach and my mentor worked on with me last year and start implementing those techniques and just go, no, I've just got to do it. And the more I do it, what I'm finding is it gets easier, and it gets easier getting over those little blips as well. I think I'd be naive if I thought, okay, I've done it once, that's it, I've conquered that lack of confidence and I've conquered that fear and I can do it without any issues all the time now. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I think we're all a work in progress,
Agreed.
and that's not a problem. I think that is a good thing because work in
Yeah.
progress means you're learning, you're growing, you're
Means you're
unlearning bad
human.
habits. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
means you're
you're not a
human.
robot.
Yeah,
You're going to have some
which
ups and downs.
exactly. And I think part of losing that self-confidence with this client thing was a bit of a, oh my God, it's not perfect. Oh my God, you kind of start questioning yourself a little bit, and then you question yourself even more and more and more. And it just becomes this spiral, doesn't it? And I think I got into this spiral that I didn't know then how to get out of until I got somebody to help me. And I really love that I got somebody to help me.
Yeah, we definitely need, not one person is an island. We all need that support, and it sounds like you're definitely getting the support that you need.
Yeah.
And yeah, so and I think I did mention one of my episodes, a solo episode
Mm.
about hiding behind your work,
Yep.
or
Yep.
in some cases not showing your work. And I think
Yeah.
definitely it feels unnatural for people who haven't done it for quite a while. But I think the more you do it, the more you exercise that visibility muscle, as it were, you're
You
gonna
yeah.
gonna
Absolutely, you're
improve.
right. You're right. And because I think it had been such a long time since I'd been doing it, it is going to feel a bit sticky at times, but I've just got to keep on working through it.
Definitely. Well, I just want to talk about the design industry a bit more, and
Mm,
let's talk about the ugly side of the creative industry, and that the comparison, comparing ourselves all the time.
yes.
When did that voice start creeping into your head, saying you weren't good enough, or am I have to be perfect? Is that I know that you mentioned it a few times when you were
Oh,
growing up, but it's
yeah.
always there. How does
I
creatives get
think
over that?
I think it is always there.
Mm,
Um when I was employed, it wasn't there as much. Um I think it got a bit louder when I started realizing that actually I mean, this is going back quite a few years. Oh, I should have an Instagram account and a Facebook page so that I can start sharing my work and promote my. And then it's when you start letting other people into your world that you start seeing what people are doing. And I guess you either go down the route of, oh my God, that's amazing. Why can't I do that? Why am I not doing that? Or you go down the route of, oh my God, that's absolutely incredible. Let me learn how I can do something similar, but put my own spin on it. And I think initially I went down the whole, oh my God, that's so cool. Why can't I do that stage? And then it's very easy, isn't it? Especially with sort of social media. You look at LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram and you're seeing everybody doing things and you start comparing your journey to their journey, but you don't know the whole story. You don't know what they've been through, how long it's taken them to get where they are. And you're just assuming that because they've shared a glimpse or a project that they're really proud of, that that's how it's always been and that they've had it easy. But that's not the case, is it? And then the minute I realized that, the comparisonitis, I'm not going to say it stopped because it hasn't, and you always do it to some degree, but it just got a lot better, actually, not a bit better. It got a lot better. And I'm, I think I'm in a place now. I make it sound easy, but it's not easy. It took many years, Heather. I think I'm in a place where I'm a bit
Work in
like, do you know
progress.
what? Work in progress. I'm in a place where I'm comfortable with what I'm doing, comfortable with what I'm sharing online, and I'm happy with where things are with work and with life. And I'm looking at other people from a mindset of, you go, you get out there and do what's making you happy, rather than comparing myself to others.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Regards to the comparison. Was it comparison-citis? You call
Comparisonitis.
that's a good one. Yeah, like
It's
that.
a good word, isn't it?
I'll use it for future once I know how to pronounce it.
Absolutely.
Regards to the comparing yourself, I
Yeah.
definitely, I know there's jealousy, and
Yeah.
but then I always stop myself. Obviously, it's going to happen, but then I think, do I actually want what they want or what they're
Right.
doing? Because you think, oh,
Absolutely.
some people are speaking on stage and doing TED Talks and they're traveling around the world. Thinking, do I actually want that though? What I actually want is the recognition of what I do, to be visible and to be
Yeah.
represented. And speak through my lens and my voice. So
Yep.
yes, it'd be nice to, and I've touched a little bit on maybe some talks in the past, but it didn't feel natural to me. So I think it's more about the grass is always greener kind of scenario. But when you get over there, it's a bit dry and a bit run down, and you think it's not that
I
great over
Yeah.
there.
And actually the grass is green wherever you are, right? Because you're
Yes.
doing things in your way and you're doing
Yeah.
things what you want. So actually, as soon as we stop the whole, well, what's going on over there
Yeah.
thing and focus on what you're doing,
Mm.
your grass is going to be super green.
It is. It just needs to be nurtured, needs to be
Yeah,
watered.
exactly. We
Excellent.
need to take care of ourselves and our grass.
Yes, we're talking a lot about grass,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
But it's very relevant.
It is.
There's a part of the conversation. It's called Studio Draw. It's a play on words. So it's like actual draw, your physical draw, and a draw on creativity. That messy draw that you chuck your stuff in that you don't want to talk about. It's basically your creativity as a designer.
Yeah.
What project made you feel like a kid again?
Oh, that's a really good question. Does it have to be a paid project?
No, it doesn't. It can be a
Excellent.
personal project, anything.
Oh, excellent. I did a little project with my youngest, who is 12. She's she's some kind of budding entrepreneur, I swear. And a few years ago, she and her friend decided that they wanted to start selling donuts. And of course, Amaya, being Amaya, was like, this is what the name is, and you're a graphic designer, so I'm going to give you a brief and you're going to design the logo for me.
She was your client.
She was my client, and it was just I think, oh God, what did they call it? They called it Daily Donuts, I think. So it wasn't something that ever got off the ground. She doesn't like donuts. She's never made a donut in her life. But her and her friend were adamant they were going to have a donut stall. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll design the logo. And it was so nice just to see her sitting beside me, and there was a lot of back and forth about ideas and things we could do with the logo. And we never got to this like finished logo, but we were just putting loads of things down on paper and then putting things on down on Illustrator and just creating these like little donut characters or words that she could use. And it was just so nice to see her being creative, and it made me feel more creative. And the ideas that she was coming out with, maybe stuff that I wouldn't have thought about, because you kind of, as you grow up, you sort of lose a bit of your sense of imagination and you see things through a completely different lens, right? So to actually sit with her and see, or try and understand what she was seeing, so much fun.
Yeah, my
So
friend
much fun.
does the same, like with like your daughter. She's got a daughter as well, and she
Mm,
loves doing art. She encourages her to do more art,
yeah,
um, drawing and painting. So yeah, and I think she's living through her best life through her daughter as well, with and going
so
back to
cute.
being a kid again. And it's so great
Yeah,
to see that. Yeah.
yeah, it is. So yeah, that I definitely felt
Mm.
like a kid again. It was so nice. I need to do
Just
more of it.
yeah, I'm about to say, do more of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
The next question I have for you in Studio Draw:
Mhm.
what's the weirdest source of inspiration you've ever used in a project?
Oh, weirdest source of inspiration. That is such a good question. That's really tough. I worked for, this is many years ago. Our rabbits inspired me to include like a little rabbit character for a client who had a business selling kids books. They were a weird source of inspiration for that, I guess.
Who or what never fails to inspire you, no matter how many times you revisit?
It has to be, so where we live there are a couple of local lakes, and when I'm feeling really stuck, I will go and sit at the lake. I'll go for a walk and I'll go and sit on a bench. And sometimes I will take a little sketchbook and a pen or a pencil with me. Sometimes I won't. And I'll just sit there and I'll watch. And I don't know whether it's the being outside as a whole, or actually where I choose to sit and just stare into the lake and watch the swans and the ducks doing what they're doing, that feels quite inspiring. Maybe it helps me feel unstuck, and then I get back to my desk and I feel like I can carry on with whatever it is that I was feeling stuck about. So it definitely has to be getting outdoors.
Yeah. Sometimes your great
Never
ideas
fails.
come from a bit going outside and doing
Yeah.
something totally different. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I feel like if I was to go on a walk with a person, I wouldn't get that, because then my brain would be too preoccupied in whatever conversations I might be having. So maybe it's that change of environment, but specifically being outside.
This is kind of touching on your wise words. You've got a book.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is kind of a quick fire part of it.
Oh,
So
okay.
wise words, taking your brand from meh to great.
Yeah.
So templates, helpful shortcut or a creative trap?
Can I caveat that with, it depends on whether they're bespoke templates or templates you found on Canva.
Really? Yes.
If they are templates you've found on Canva, they're a trap, because everybody's going to use the same template. And again, going back to something I said earlier, how on earth are you going to stand out? If they are templates that you've had designed for your business, they are wonderful, because if you've worked with a designer, they will set you up in a way that your templates don't get stale. So, bit of both.
What's one colour tip that instantly improves a brand's look?
Oh, tip. Make sure that if you're using more than one color in your brand, there's enough contrast between the colors that you're using so that important stuff stands out and so that it just doesn't all look a bit murky and blended together.
What's the biggest font mistake you see everywhere?
We'll start with legibility because I'm seeing a lot of stuff that local businesses are doing where they're using fonts because they look pretty, but nobody can read what they say. What's the point? What's the point? I'm seeing a lot of kerning done very, very badly.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes my eyes twitchy.
Water.
Yeah, there's one particular shop that so a friend of mine owns and runs a lovely coffee shop that I go to quite regularly. And as I walk to his coffee shop, I walk past a shop that has it's a shop that's being refitted and it has some window graphics. The legibility is awful. The kerning is off the charts awful. I think they've used maybe 7 or 8 different fonts throughout their set of graphics, and it's just it's awful. Absolutely awful. I could go on about it, but I won't.
Sounds like a very big pet peeve of yours.
Yeah. What's the point in trying to design something with nice typography if people can't read it? If it's sending out a confusing message, what's the point?
If you could give every creative listening some wise words they should carry out in their work tomorrow, what would it be?
Something they should carry out in their work. I don't know if this is specifically something they should carry out in their work or not, but I would say don't force yourself into doing creative work that you don't enjoy or that feels really difficult, because I think that always ends up showing in the work. That's not to say don't experiment with techniques and ideas, yes. But, just as an example, I said I work in branding and marketing comms. And if I was to force myself to take on, I don't know, a website project or a UX design project, I'd be forcing myself to do something that A, I'm not sure how to do, and B, it doesn't bring me any joy. And that would show. And I think by doing stuff like that, I think I'd get to burnout quite quickly. So my advice would be, yeah, always make sure you're doing stuff that you enjoy and stuff that you love doing.
And if
Yeah.
anybody wants to reach out to you and support you
Hmm.
in your business, how would they
Yeah.
do that and find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn and on Instagram as well. So on LinkedIn, I'm Bhavini Lakhani, and on Instagram, I'm B81 Designs. And yeah, my email address and my DMs are always open if anyone wants to reach out and have a chat.
Bhavini, thank you. This has been a wonderful conversation. I enjoyed it so
Thank
much.
you. I did too. Thank you, Heather.